Are you in it for love? Are you in it for fame? Are you in it for the cheese and the glory? You got 30 minutes to prove your worth. Will you medal, call yourself in the glory? The clock comes down, the screw turns tight. Tell me, motherfucker, are you ready to fight? This is a fraction of your life, a blink of the eye, a twist of the knife. When your fate lies on the judging sheet, you're caught in a web of steaming heats. Steaming heats, steaming heats. You're caught in a web of steaming heats.
Welcome back to Steaming Heats, you ripper. Oh, I love this. War stories from the heat of battle. All the action that goes on between the Hooters and around the Hooters. And, Hooters in general. They bring out the best in competitors in fire brands. And we've got one of the all-time greats in today. Before we get into it, though, big thanks to Sunbum who have come on as a major sponsor. Hoggy, you know what it's like, bro. The sun can really incinerate, particularly hirsute, challenged men like us. Fuck, it can burn you down, mate. So,
Bald noggin.
Pretty frothing. Have Sunbum on board. And, they're bringing us these fantastic tales of war, surf war. Mate, 6 years on tour, 2 CT finals, couple of semis in the mix as well. But, mate, you are one of those surfers where the results really don't tell the story. It's the big, throbbing, thigh-thick vein on the side of your head that tells the story. Some of the moments that you've given us in your career, there's just no doubt about it, mate. You're one of the all-time competitors. Thanks for coming on the show. Great to see you. Always a pleasure, Nathan Hedge. Hog.
Yeah, thanks, Warno. Stoked to be here, mate. I love this steaming heats. It just brings you right into the battle, right into the heat of it, and that's what I've lived for over my career and my life, and that's, it's a really special place to reside in, and what a cool spot to be here today. Thanks, mate.
Pleasure, bro.
Yeah.
Hoggy, you are one of the most fiercely competitive animals on earth, mate. There's just no doubt about you, whether you're pulling on the Rashi for North Narrabeen, whether you're pulling it on for, a fucking like charity heat. You give it everything. Where does it come from in you? Like, was that before surfing? That sort of, was it Damo, just constantly rubbing your nose in it, you big bro? Or like, how did you turn into such an animal?
I'm not sure. I know my dad was super staunch, and when he wanted something, he was getting it, you know what I mean? I think that drive and determination's come from him. Like, I saw him on the squash court and the tennis court and golf. My brother's more mellow. He's kind of like, I'd love to have some of his patience and cruisy nature, but I think it comes from my dad. I've got some professional tennis players in my family as well, and I think it probably stems back from my dad. I think just looking at my immediate circle, my family circle, and then product of my environment growing up at Narrabeen and just having that level to aspire to, and it just the respect, and it was nothing less. You had to be that, or it was beat it.
Yeah.
So I think it's a combination.
Yeah, we got privileged to sort of be at the 60th anniversary dinner for North Narrabeen Border Otters the other day. Doff the cap to the great North Narrabeen. Fine contributors to the steaming heat. They're so full on down there. They've always prided themselves on being world beaters. Clearly that had a huge impact on you, particularly your generation and the generation just before you. There's so many elite surfers from that beach, man.
Yeah, I mean, paddling on any given day, that time of that era, I was going up through the 90s, there was like most of the world champions were on the northern beaches there. So it was like any given day you paddle out and you'd had the pioneers of the sport or world champions out there, or people that were right at the pinnacle of their game or in the limelight and marketing and magazines, and there was such a depth of talent out there that you just rose to that level, and there was no sort of like you kept you pretty humble too, because you had to get to that level, and then if you were doing well, no one was going to tell you were doing well either. So you just had to try and get better, because you're never going to get a wave or one of the sets. You just had to sort of get you out the pecking order. So it was this constant battle of trying to prove yourself and get to the next level, and keep advancing and get some, just get your place in the lineup, I suppose. So it's sort of really the institute, the school of NN freaking surf hardcore was rife,
Yeah, man. And then when that table flips, once you have earned your spot and you are doing well, be it in board riders or at the very top level, man, the support on that beach is unlike anything. It's crazy. I mean, it's quite similar to a lot of beaches, especially with the board riders culture in Australia. We get, schooled pretty early on surfing heats, on surfing for your club, on surfing for something bigger than yourself. But you got to off the cap, dead set at that 60th. I was looking around, man, and almost every single person in the room at one stage occupied space on my wall. I was like, this is crazy.
It was gnarly, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Just looking around. I mean, what a production, and the depth. It's just crazy. 60th year was such an incredible spot to grow up. Yeah.
Mad, mate.
Mad.
Well, let's get into it, Hog.
Let's go, Vorno.
Last couple of eps with Rabs and Machado, I was kind of going a bit chronological on it, but I just want to get straight into it today. Your first ever CT heat, mate. 6 years on tour. You grew up in that era, in and around Parko, Mick, Dingo, so many great surfers, Bede, obviously. After your junior series sort of career and hitting the CT, 2001?
2001.
Was that your first CT, or did you get a wild card before
I'd had wild cards because I won Trestles in 2000, and for whatever reason, someone put out a Tahiti, so I actually got to surf Tahiti as a wild card in 2000.
First ever CT heat was Tahiti. And solid?
I remember it being like 6 to 8 feet. It wasn't super psycho back ledge, but it was psycho experience because I was this new kid coming on and all the established guys were there and they never make it easy for you. So it was a eye-opener. I wasn't even on tour yet, so it was like, wow. And it was the time when they were still riding 610s and 6.8s and sort of Hawaiian quivers at Tahiti. So I don't even think I took anything shorter than a 6.6 that year. It was crazy. It was like 7.2, 7.0, 6.10, 6.8 and 6.6. I just bought my like Bushmans and my Eric Alcala, so it was like intense. It was heavy. I've been there before for the Blackwater Gotcha one, the QS.
Yeah.
But that first introduction to CT was radical.
Mate, that's 2000 Sonny Garcia wins the world title that year. So tell us who was in your heat. Do you remember? Was it like terrifying, or were you just typical Hoggy up for it?
I think I was just up for it. I don't even remember, to be honest. I was kind of like, I was more focused like on my very first heat on the CT when I actually made the tour was at Snapper. So I can remember that clear as day. But my wild card year in 2000, I honestly don't remember who was in my heat or how far I got, but I just remember it was a massive thing getting to go there. And things I do remember was rocking up to the airport and I had no accommodation and I didn't know who to stay with, but because the flights used to arrive there like 1 a.m.
That's right.
There's a fireman still there at the airport and he was driving back down to the end of the road and he's like, well, come stay with me and my family. And because I was just left there, all the tour guys had buggered off of fucking whatever, Hog, like whoever this kid is, like old school. Not like now, they'd probably say jump in or do you need a ride or something, but I was just left there. And Rip Curl didn't have any ties there really, I don't think, or nothing was really laid on. And I got last minute call from Al Hunt that I was going, so I was there and the fireman said, come and stay with us and my family at the end of the road. And I stayed with them for the next, 15 years.
That God bless
is
him. Outrageous.
So I remember that. Like,
can you imagine it, man? Imagine like a up and coming tennis player, for example, in the year 2000. It's not that long ago. Yeah. Like, getting a start in the Oz Open, like a Grand Prix event.
Yeah, for sure.
And no one's there to pick him up for the
No,
He's got to go and stay at some rando's house. I mean, but like as you say, Tahiti, you get to know the families, you stay with them.
Yeah.
But that's so cool. Who's the family?
The Tarifa family, the father's name was Atto. He's passed away, sadly, but he's up in heaven. And but him and his family, I saw his daughters and kids grow right up to adults today, and just always got to stay at their place and been back ever since. So it's like one of those special places where it's homestay vibe, and you get to get immersed in the culture and you get a real feel for being there. So that was a special memory from that year for sure.
Well, let's skip forward to Snapper then.
Yeah.
You've qualified. 2001 is a real interesting year on tour. You probably had dreams of this. The Dream Tour pretty much in effect then, wasn't it? It was pretty good.
Dream Tour was happening, and just to come around like first event at Snapper, first event of the year, actually on the tour. It took 3 years to qualify, and then. Just have my seat there, and they used to have the catalogue tracks to do the mag of who's come through, who was going to do good, who was going to do shit, who was going to fall off, and they'd have different contributors, right, and what was going to happen. So to actually see my name there, and it was coming in pretty on the back end of it was the top 44 then, so I think I got 12th on the tour to qualify. So I was like, I don't know, 30 something on the to do, and so I was keen to get out there and smash a few heads in for sure.
Who'd you have?
I remember I had Noxie and I think I had Troy Brooks as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you got kind
Yeah.
of like one of your peers, but then also someone you'd been watching and actually surfing with. Knox was on Rip Curl back then too.
Yeah,
right? So-
Noxie was nuts too. Like his power and on the forehand too was I remember.
Was he on Rip Curl yet, or maybe not? Had you
I
been
don't
surfing
think
with him
so. I
much?
think he was like no fear and stuff like
That's
that
right,
back then.
yeah.
I reckon.
But you
Yeah.
would have had a fair love for his rail game. So
Oh.
that's a pretty intense heat to paddle out
Yeah,
and have
no,
a
it was-
hero like that.
It was full on, just them being on their forehand and the power and stuff. So, I remember I won it. I don't remember what scores. I'm not that good with like. I remember every single board I've ever had. I remember certain sessions, like pretty much every session, but the scores and the
Yeah,
actual
it doesn't
ways,
matter,
yeah.
mate. As long as you win, that's all
Yeah,
that matters.
I won. I
It's
come in
all
'cause I
about
got
winning, Hog.
I got a photo of my dad and me on the beach. Come up and he's just got his arm around and we're stoked and just on there at Snapper and you can see where he'd rather be surf club in the back and it's a special moment captured there. First heat had a win, so well, this isn't too hard. We can do this. Yeah.
That's cool, man. And then don't know how far you got in that one.
I think I got about. I didn't kick a lot of ass. I think I got about 17th. So I think I made a couple of heats. It was enough to sort of get me down to bells and have a bit of momentum and sort of like didn't get towed up very first heat. So yeah, I think I probably got
good
like
little-
17th. I'd like to say a 9th might be a stretch. I think it was 17th because it was dirty turds dead last.
That's right.
And then I think it was 17th maybe next.
Yeah,
Might have
that's
been
right.
20 something, but I think I made a couple of heats
Cool.
and then
Good little chip
yeah,
shot into
little chip shot.
into the rest of the year, which didn't
Yeah.
last too long because September 11 happens. Everyone on tour just basically goes, nah, we're not surfing any more heats, and that's it. Game over.
It was a crazy year. Twin Towers happened, and we'd had, I don't know, only 4 events, I think.
Yeah.
And so wherever you were sitting at that point, obviously the world changed at that point, and no one was getting on any flights anywhere, especially not the American surfers, which rightly so. And so it was really stressful. I kind of gave me a glimpse into what the mid-year cut would have been like for that following year. So, anyways, we had 4 events. I was sitting at mid-20s, and you had to get 28. And then it was just the world settled down a little bit, and we had the one final event at Sunset. It was the year that CJ
That's
won the
right.
world title.
Yeah.
It was gnarly. We had all these scenarios going down because it was the first year on tour. You'd had 4 comps, and then it was like this huge gap in the middle where no one was traveling, no one was surfing, so no heats, no competing. And then you get 1 heat at Sunset to keep your spot on the tour. It's fucked up.
That is wild,
Yeah.
man. And like, so
crazy.
the other crazy thing is that year, I'm almost positive there was at least between 8 and 10 world title contenders. So because it was so short and no one had really like jumped ahead,
Yeah, no
it
one
was
had,
like,
like-
I think CJ surfed first and lost early. And then the
Right.
8 other contenders all just bombed after him, one after the other.
Crazy,
Like
eh?
Jake Pato was in the mix, Wilsey
Right.
was in the mix.
Okay.
There was a heap of them in there, and CJ just sat on the beach with his, just death riding everyone. Just going,
Yeah.
no, but I actually never considered that at the other end of the rankings, there was just this, like, basically cockfight.
Yeah, it's-
Feathers flying everywhere, heads getting decapitated with every single heat. And it was a four-man heats, right?
4-man heats at Sunset, yeah. It was
Wild.
freaking,
So you could block, you could get your team on
it
board.
was
You could
freaking
do all sorts of
bloodbath
wild
because
shit.
there was no priority either. It was just freaking old school scrap. You're in Hawaii too,
Some
so it's
people-
already gnarly.
and
And
it was-
surfing Sunset,
Yeah.
and you got that outcome like
How
That's
big
why-
was it? 6 to 8 or
it was
bigger?
solid. No, it was big.
Yeah.
Northwest too was like solid. I remember it being like 8 to 10 feet and pretty nuts. Like it's as big as playing field out there already. Like you versus Sunset's enough, let alone all the scenarios playing out on that now. Like it was mental.
Mad, mate. So how did
Yeah.
you feel when you got the job done?
Oh, just totally relieved.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was stressful, but yeah, it was sort of helped me as a competitor for sure. Yeah.
Off to CJ Hobgood getting it done and a worthy world title. No puckered asterisks there, bro.
No, you nailed it.
Mate, let's jump into the scariest heat you ever surfed. I like to just sort of throw it open with this. Like, is it scary because you are fearful of your opponent, fearful of the scenario, fearful of the waves? What sort of springs to mind when we think about your scariest heat of your career?
Well, I've kind of got 2, and I can't split the 2, and they're equally as scary for very different reasons. So I'll take you to the first scary scenario heat was Brazil in Batuba. we had Slater and Andy going for world titles that year, and it was the last event before Pipe. And if
And is this this is 2000? This is after the peak of their battles, but they're still going at it.
Still going at it. It's 2005.
2005. Okay.
Yep. And
So Kelly's
Andy-
already wrestled one world title back off
he's
Andy.
already wrangled one back off Andy.
No, hang on, wait. 2005. So Andy
2005.
was 202, 203, 204.
204.
So
He wants
this is Kelly's
Yeah.
chance to finally get some revenge.
exactly, yeah,
Yeah.
25. And so we're in the quarterfinals, and the beach is just going nuts. There's such an energy around it because Kelly could possibly win the world title if Andy bows out there. It doesn't go down to Pipe. So if whoever gets further in the comp at Brazil, so
Yeah.
Kelly got bailed out. So then I've matched up with Andy in the quarterfinals. So it was like, you could just feel I wasn't really focused on the bigger picture around that. I just wanted to win the contest. I was going for my first win on the tour, so I wasn't really caught up in it. But you could just feel the energy around the beach, and the Brazos are so passionate. And it was just like media and everyone homing around. And then Kelly, I could see him in the stands, and he was like, I think I'm out of here. I want to go home. I can't. It was just like, you could tell it was just a bit too much. And I got ready for my heat, and I was getting ready around the back, and I went to go down the steps and saw him up on the left, and I said to him, don't leave. Don't fucking leave. It's happening today. Like, you need to be here for this. Like, and just looked at him and just gave him, like, just fully meant it. And he was like, oh. He stayed around.
No.
Yeah. And anyway,
Sick.
so it was scary in the way of, like, just the outcomes, the implications. And then, like, to go out. And I ended up having a really good heat. And I beat Andy. And it was just gnarly because he, like, stayed out in the water for, like, I think an hour later, went down the beach. And, yeah, just didn't resurface for ages, and then sort of like I didn't catch up with him again, and then I think until we're in Hawaii, and I know he wasn't dirty at me because it wasn't like I blew his chance, just that final piece of the puzzle, you know. So it was like no beef between us. I beat him fair and square, but it was still a heavy, emotionally kind of scary thing because a lot of respect for both of those guys, and going to Hawaii with Andy, and it was a massive heat. You know, there's a lot riding on it. You know, just stay focused on the task at hand, knowing all that was happening around me too. And then, like, equally as scary, but different scary was, like, Tahiti. It was 2014.
Just before we get onto that, mate, what a heat. Like, you know, with the benefit of hindsight and what follows, you know, like, Andy for 3 years had just been so dominant. He had just basically bent over and punished the goat, you know, for a long time. He brought the goat to tears famously on the beach at Pipe. 2003. Goat takes a big hit. Can't remember what he finished in 2004, but I'm almost positive it was out of the top 10. Oh, it was, tail end of the top 10, like maybe 8th or 9th or
7th
something.
or 8th or something, yeah.
And then to come back, to kind of reinvigorate and to find a way to win again against his greatest foe. And for Andy to feel, you know, that energy coming from Kelly after just trying to maintain that high level of, I guess he used hatred a lot of the time against Kelly as a motivation or whatever energy you wanted to call it. He was punching effigies of Kelly in the head and all that. But what a moment to be a part of, man, because that really is maybe the first little delamination where it starts to go not Andy's way. Like the champ is the, you know, the king is dead, long live the king kind of thing, where there's a transition going on. Wild stuff. Yeah, that is scary. That's
it was
scary.
massive because you kind of figure, I mean, equally as potent and gnarly out Pipe, I mean, you hard to splitting hairs on who would win, but you'd think coming into Pipe,
I mean,
you'd
even
think,
for years to come, Kelly couldn't get Andy. You know,
Yeah,
there was
so-
another couple of Pipe
yeah.
wins to Andy that followed.
exactly.
Maybe
so
even that year. So
that's right.
wild, man.
Yeah,
So
you know, that was wild experience. And even just all the fans when Kelly won his world title then and coming up, it was just like, it's crazy.
yeah, and what did the goat say to you? I mean, on one hand, you got
Right.
Andy sort of drifting down the beach for an
Yeah.
hour. Well, what did the goat say when you came in?
Oh, he just was just frothing and said, like, you can have whatever you want, like, I owe you one. And I think there was talk of giving me the Simon Anderson board that he won all the comps on that year, but
Hasn't turned up yet.
I haven't got the Simon.
Checking the post
No.
still, Hog?
He signed me one of his shirts, one of the was it, how many world titles was that year? I think it
I
was
think he might have been. Must have been. He retired on his 6th,
7th.
so it must have been his 7th.
7th, yeah. I've still got the shirt all signed and stuff, and then he got me an awesome dinner too. But I've got one favour ask him coming up soon. I've been keeping up my sleeve, so
No.
Yeah, he said you can have whatever you want. So
Yeah.
I've been sitting on that one for a
He's
while.
probably running down the post office to chuck the Simon in right now. What's the Hoggy one? Oh,
Yeah,
man,
it's got some interest on it too, given we're in 2024. So, yeah, 20
Epic,
years.
mate. So scary heat number 2, Tahiti.
Yeah, it's just nuts. Like I went there for the trials.
This is post career. This is
yeah.
How did you get a start in? Like we've
Yeah.
talked about this wave a few times actually, but it's worth revisiting just sort of where you're at.
Yeah, okay.
And sort of what it meant to you to get into that event.
Yeah, cheers, Warner. It was massive because the trials back then, 2014, there was 8 Billabong guys and 8 invitees. So on the back of my final there, my name was in the mix to surf the trials. High performance there in the past and stuff. So I snuck in as a trialist. And then the thing is like if you made the final of the trials, they had to invite you back the next year. And I'd made the finals in 2013, so they had to invite me back. So here we are at 14. But like I'm unsponsored. Like I'm just like getting a few boards off random crew back here in Oz, and I had to borrow 2,500 off my auntie Pam, because the flight's inexpensive. Chris O'Callaghan let me stay at his place, so I'm going on the bones of my ass. You know what I mean? So, and there's one person gets a spot. There's one international, one Tahitian. So yeah, 2 guys get it, but you have to be a international guy to get a spot. So there's one spot out of 16 guys, and there's no prize money. There's nothing.
No.
You know, so it's all in. You know what I mean? Huge commitment to take your time out to even just get there. Anyways, I get to the final and I get second. I think Bruno Santos might have beat me that year, something like that. Could have been Tuamata as well, one other year. Anyways, I get second. I'm in the main event, and it's 2014, and I have a crazy first round heat with Parker and Ace. It's mental. And we're trading blows for 9s and stuff, and then Ace and Parker get these crazy high 9s, and I go from first to like third in the blink of an eye. And I'm like, fuck. So I end up being in the round 2 in the elimination round, but end up being a blessing in disguise. So I got to surf that afternoon, and the swell was rising, but so was the onshore wind. So I was like, you had to sit around and wait, get the round 1 out of the way, and then wait. Rising swell, getting all gnarly, like, and they knew there was going to be a week off after that, so they pushed through. They're running round 2. I'm like, fuck, this is hectic.
And we're talking thick by this stage.
Yeah, thick, late arvo, just like when it's going to be hot, so there's like an onshore ruffle, and it's just getting that thick and nasty. And so I've drawn Adrian D'Souza, and like I'd like to think out there that I'd be a good chance of like keeping him honest. You know what I mean? Like I like that draw, and you know he's a wizard in the tube. I thought, okay, I can come to this party, you know, feeling confident. And anyways, things weren't going right for me, and he had a 6.6, which is a big score for the conditions, and it was like 8 to 10 foot. The whistle's going off the channel, you know, get out of the way of the channels, and huge sets coming, and I'd let a few waves go, and I had my brother and Matty Granger in the channel, and because the caddies and the people in the channel are so close. And I let a few big waves go because I was fucking scared because they weren't that clean, and it was like ruffling. Like if it's big and clean, you can trust it, and you still like your heart's in your throat. But if it's clean, it's a lot easier to commit, right? But it was ruffly and a bit unruly, and I was fucked up. It was getting huge. Each set seemed to be getting bigger. He'd already 6.6. He had a 6.6 score on the board, and I had nothing. I had
And just
2.
to be clear, mate, like you're not one to hold back. So I mean, if it's that thick, and especially where you got to sit to just knife it.
Yeah.
Like, and you often hear people say it, but the backhand can be an advantage in that scenario because you can knife it and just go straight to the butt.
Kind of put the
forehand,
brakes
you get a
on,
bit of air and whatever. So
Yeah,
you're
it was-
struggling to find the grit to just pick one and go.
to get deep enough too, and it's just
Wild.
like hectic, busy, and so each set was getting bigger, and I'd had fuck all, and D'Souza had a 6.6 already to his score, so he was starting to post numbers and put it like building house pretty hardcore. And his wave came, pretty big one, and I let it go, and I sort of looked down and went, I just wasn't quite feeling. I was like, fuck, and then another one came and wasn't quite feeling that one. I sort of had another bit closer look and pulled back, and then I yelled over to my brother and mate, do you reckon I could have made that? And they both went, yeah. And I was like, I remember going, fuck. I started like feeling the heat of the moment, and the vein was popping out. I started getting like But that was a blessing in disguise. 'Cause I was just like, the next thing that comes, I'm going. Like, because I let those two other ones go. I was like, the next biggest thing that comes. And if this thing came, went black, boom, presented itself, and I'm just going. And I knew deep down too, the bigger, thicker ones do hollow out enough to stay clean. But this thing came, and there's no way I'd go for it in a free surf. So scary. I had a white water too, and I was just like, probably wasn't a good call. Like, if you're watching to go, fuck, why are you going that? But the way it played out was, the rest is history. But I just got my head, just got under the guillotine. It was all by braille, by feel. I wasn't like, just made the drop and then just, like I said, by like muscle memory, just to pull up and in and just went up like this. And then just didn't get my hair. I swear if I had one strand of hair, I would have got guillotined. And it ended up being a 10. So, and then after that, I'd had a 10-point ride, but only a 2. And I think D'Souza had a 6 and maybe a 5 was still beating me. So I needed like a 2 or something. So I just like got to get this backup wave. It's still getting bigger. And I go just to get my second score. I think I need a 2. And I end up purling and nose diving. And my board goes into the lagoon. And then the caddies are there. And I've got my brother and Matty G there again. My brother's paddling over on my 6.6 to give him my spare board. And the water safety go, no, it cannot go any closer. It's like too heavy. So they get the board up on the ski and they cruise on in and they go with my board and it fucking planes in so perfectly. 6.6 Decor. I remember it like in slow motion. The 6.6 red Decor just goes, and it just glides into the West Bowl and the West Bowl comes and I just see my board go over the falls and just obliterated. I'm like, so I've snapped my board. My other spare board just went over the falls from the water safety. And I've got some other third board there. Thank fuck that I've got some board there, but it wasn't, I don't know. I'd never thought I was going to be riding my third board, so it wasn't exactly what I needed. I think it might have been pretty short again or something, but wasn't very confident. Anyway, I'm on this third board. Got to make it happen. There's like 5 minutes to go, and I end up getting one, manufacturing a barrel and getting a 5 or a 6 or something and winning the heat. But that was scary for all those reasons. Yeah. So much drama, so much going on with the board going over the lip too and just having to get another score. Like the fear of like losing with a 10. Like you hear it so often. Fuck, he lost with a 10. I was like, I'm not going to be that guy. Yeah. No, not today.
Wilco was probably sitting at home going, come on, get him, because he's the famous guy for having 10s and losing.
So heavy.
But, mate, that is incredible. Like, that's competing in a world where I think only surfing can deliver that sort of intensity. Like, I grand final, what Nathan Cleary did last year, or, where someone pulls off a magic play in the dying seconds. Yeah. But to have that extra element of something that can literally obliterate you off the face of this planet on top of all the other pressure, and you in your soul knowing that this is a shot at getting some sort of support, keeping your dream alive, like the things that are the most dear to you. Yeah. This is just a little chip shot into having more opportunity to do that.
That's it. It's like
incredible pressure, man. Terrifying.
Yeah, it was gnarly. It was kind of like my healing because, I'm open about it. I feel like I fell off the tour early, so it was premature and through my choices, and we've chatted about that. But to get back on that stage and have the opportunity, and so there was a lot riding on it. It was massive, Yeah.
Hoggy, there's a great shot that Ed Sloan took of you. I don't know if it's that heat. I'm almost positive it is, though.
It was that,
and
it's
that
like, one.
You are just clenched fist and the vein, mate.
It's exploding, eh?
Yeah, I think you're almost into Angelina Jolie territory where the forward vein has its own Facebook page and its own followers and fan club. It's pretty mad. Insane stories, bro. That is epic. Just watching your spare board go over the falls too. What an image.
Yeah.
So classic.
The red rugs. I got like a 15 board quiver from Decora, and it was like of one of those that I'd kept from when it was like the gravy train days of Rip Curl, and it was just it's magical Decora.
Isn't it mad, mate?
Over the falls, I'm like,
think about some of the magic Decoros that I've just seen incredible performances on. I think Jack Robbo at Sunset when he won, and then Mick Fanning obviously in his world title year. I'm pretty sure he was on Decoros that year.
Medina's had a good crack on Decoros too.
Shredding it.
I think Jack might have been on an Eric.
Oh, he was too. He was too. Nah, good call. Mate, the heat that changed you as a competitor, it might be one you won or lost or made a mistake, or maybe just one that just meant the world to you and sort of set you on a whole different path. But do you remember sort of a a moment, and I would imagine that this could quite easily be in your junior career or whatever. But yeah, have you got one that changed you as a competitor, as a human, where you just go, wow, that was, I didn't realise it at the time, but that heat had monumental either consequences or set me off.
Well, I've been thinking about this one too. There's a couple there as well. There's one of the Haleiwa, the OP Junior, World Junior, and also my first win at Trestles. So there was two there. Like, I think, knowing the question, like, set me off as younger, I probably want to steer towards Haleiwa.
Yeah.
It was OP World Juniors at the time, and I was a wild card. I hadn't, for whatever reason, I didn't really do the junior series stuff. So I didn't have any junior rankings, but I think I'd won a comp at Haleiwa just before that, the week before this Moku Invitational. So I got a wild card into the OP World Juniors. And I was in the final, and there was AI, Freddie P, and Kaimana Henry. So the Maui boy, Kauai boy, Freddie P.
Whoa.
Oh, sorry, it was Trent Munro.
Yeah, okay.
Trent Munro, Knackers as well. So gnarly heat. And I'd borrowed a 6.6 off Davo. And I think for me it was just being like a wild card and competing in Hawaii that level. It kind of proved to me that I was good enough and against those guys. And I kind of, from that point on forward, that was my biggest kind of win up to that point of like, I was still a junior. I was sleeping on the floor. The rip curl pad, Davo was in the main bed. I was on the floor. I still got the trophy today. And I think that kind of set me off of like competing in Hawaii, because you had to do it in Hawaii. You could have all the results in the within Australia and around the world, but when you front up and you win something big at Haleiwa in Hawaii, and I surfed really well too, like backside on the 6.6, the length was insane, and I remember surfing really well. And I mean, the caliber of surfing those guys were doing too was crazy. So I think that really kind of gave me the belief and the confidence to know that there was bigger and better things for me.
Mate, you just touched on such a good point there. Like, I just haven't heard since the WSL finals moved from Pipeline to the new format at Trestles. I just haven't heard people saying you got to do it in Hawaii. It just doesn't seem to be on the radar as much as it used to be, because everyone knew that if you were going to be a pro surfer and you wanted to win a world title, odds were you were going to have to do it at Pipeline or Sunset or Haleiwa when the Triple Crown was fully formed and still functional. It's a bummer, man. That really seems like a massive disconnect from, I don't know, not just the legacy of what those events mean, but the legacy of what it means to surf well in waves of consequence and truth, brother.
I know, it kills me actually, because like it was like a rite of passage, and you had to, whether you're on the tour or not going for a world title or to get on the tour, like the way they were set up with the last two events of Haleiwa and Sunset having so many points on offer that you didn't know if you're going to qualify until the end of the year, unless you'd won like way out in front. You'd brain people throughout the year, but you had to compete and finish well in Hawaii.
Isn't that mad?
The Triple Crown. So it was like, and even from like the Pioneer days before that, like Smirnoff days and all the legends we spoke about, the North Narrabeen, Bugs and the pioneers that went over there and gave Australian surfing a name and kind of paved the way for us to come over MR and all those guys.
Midget. I just did a thing yesterday on Midget winning like in 1962 over there, bro.
There we go.
Kaha. Like there's a legacy that goes way back, man.
What about like Kong and freaking and TC and like fucking BL and just everyone, Louis Egan, like just everybody going over there, and you just proved yourself there in Hawaii. So it's a real shame there's no component of that. Like they finish in Brazil, amazing, surfing's great in Brazil, it's massive, but it is a shame that they just don't get any exposure to it, like the kids these days. And so there's no. I've spoke to a few just in D-Bar around the area the last few days, like what are you up to? And I've posed the question. We go over to Hawaii, Fanny Reid, they're like, I'm probably. It's expensive, it's crowded, I'd probably spend my money to go get waves elsewhere. And I just go, what a bummer, because it's just...
The only incentive is to get the waves, and it just isn't a big enough incentive, particularly at the moment where there's just no money, there's no team house, there's no support. Like you're going over there just to get it done. Yeah. And like full credit to the old days, man, because there were kind of elements of support. Like, I mean, being with Rip Curl, you were staying in a good spot.
Yeah.
You had access to, Hawaiians and team who could introduce you and sort of siphon you into that world. But at the same time, there was just as many QS battlers just staying in a shack out the back of someone's place and getting up when the ground was rumbling and paddling out at every wave, no matter what, and having a crack. And that's just not a thing, I don't think.
It's just not.
Doesn't seem like it.
Nah, it's a shame. Hopefully.
Bummer, brother. And another heat that changed as a competitor, you mentioned also Trestles.
Well, Trestles, it was my first year on the, it was my third year competing on the WQS, and MF and I were staying at San Clemente together. We were in the thick of it with Rip Curl. We had Crammy was the run Rip Curl at the time. We had Richard Cram's car. I remember this big, massive black Suburban. Me and MF thought we were killing, just driving around San Clemente and Trestles in this black Suburban because he gave us his wheels for the week. And just going down to Trestles. It was a 4-star at that time, and I remember we both surfed really well, but I made the final, and it was my first ever WSL ASP win on the qualifying series. And I guess just who was in it again? There was Shea Lopez.
Yep.
It was crazy turns at Trestles, like the airs and the snaps, the variety of the menu,
all the Lost
right?
movies, he was flaring out.
Yeah,
there. Yeah.
And then the other guy was AI again, had AI, and then guess who else was there? Dino Andino.
Oh.
Yeah, Kalohe's dad. Yeah, right. There's one for you. He was just at the very tail end, but obviously still ripping. He's in the final.
Yeah.
So I'm like freaking 19 or might be 20. I don't know. 19, I think.
Yeah. Kalohe's on the beach.
Dino, I don't know. Was he even
stacking rocks on top of each other?
I don't even know if he was a thought. He might have still been a seed, but waiting to be come an Earthside. I don't know.
He had a long road to travel. Get from the bag to the outside world.
Yeah, so it was like, it was just crazy, like the actual first win, And I remember MF being so stoked for me. I think it kind of like revved us both up, you know what I mean? That gave me the confidence, that was a big change for me, because until you've actually won something, you believe you can, and you've done all the work and you hope you can, but you don't actually fully stand in your power and go, I've got this, until you've actually done it.
Yeah.
So then that, went to Europe, then I got second to Willsey, just pipped me in a Anglet. I got second. And then England, I got another final, I got third. And then I had to perform in Sunset. So that was my results. And you had to get top 16, and I got 12th.
Yeah.
With the first, second, a third, and I think a fifth at Sunset or something. So that heat, that final at Trestles changed my whole life.
Yeah.
Belief. I was riding a Simon Anderson too, this DCVC model that he had that was just this crazy rocker, and it was just a magic board. It was a 6-1, which is pretty crazy. Now you think back to the lengths and stuff. 6-1, it was only like 3 foot.
Yeah, I watched footage of him, mate, in the early days. You are not scared of length.
No, the length was your friend, Foam was your friend, length, yeah.
Yeah, it was. So, mate, let's go to the heat that keeps you up at night. I've got a feeling I know which one it might be.
Yeah.
But, what's the heat where you just lie in bed sometimes and you just go, ugh, and you just can't cop it. You're just like, nah. I need another crack at that.
One that still hurts and just in my gut. Got to douse it with a lot of acceptance.
Yeah.
So it was 2022, my last wild card in Tahiti against Kai O'Belly, because I just had the big knockout blow, beating Robbo in big fantastic fashion, and high drama in that heat. So I was feeling awesome. Kai O'Belly, I'm in the quarters, the final day, last day of the event, and the swell is dropping a little bit, and I got this like West Bowl one because Kai was a bit far out, and I got this one that was in and over where the West Bowl one's coming. You can't even see it if you're sitting out there. There's like 5 or 6 different actual wave locations when you're out there. It's not all the one spot. So me knowing that, sat in on the West Bowl, there's actually a big coral head. Now that the Olympics is over and all that stuff's over, I can talk about it.
Couple little cheat codes for the boys. Yeah.
There's this yellow, big, different colour coral head, and you sit in that vicinity, it boils up. West Bowls come that into there, and I got this nuts big wide. I got an 8.8, which is massive score for start of the heat. So I'm riding high, and Kai only has a 6 and a 4, so he's on 10 points. I've already got 8.8, so I need a 2.9 to beat him. Anyway, the swell's dropping, and I get a few that sort of look like they're going to do it, but they're mid-ledge crisis. They're not big enough out the back, and they're not on the inside, and they just go high and they clamp. I got Kingy in the channel, kind of, you know, fuck, get the ones that slurp out, and everyone trying to support me and stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, that's the biggest one, but it was just like, it was a dying swell. So I'd rode my 6.3 from the day before, thinking, don't change, it's not broken, don't fix it, stay on your magic board, you know?
Yeah.
I creased the 6.3 on one of those clampy ones, so I'm not that confident on it, so I get the other 6.3. In hindsight, I would have loved to have got my 6.1 because it ended up on the inside ledge. Kyo started, he gets jack shit, gets a 6 and a 4, super vulnerable. I've got my 8.8, it's up to me. He's got priority though. Minute and a half to go. He lets me go. This one, it's got south in it, and I know I can get in and hug the reef. It's a long one. One of the ones that I look for being a four-hander. Probably didn't look like much for him, but knowing that I could drive and pump through. And I just got to the end of a wave. Two. I had 2 swings at it, and I got right to the end of the barrel, but just didn't come out. It was like 1 millimeter from coming out. I just stood there and braced for the chandelier end to pop through, and I just didn't, like twice. But the last one, the very, very last one that he didn't go, gave me an opportunity, and I threaded so, like, it would have been another 7 or 8, given it was a small wave, but it was that long. So that particular wave and that heat, because I feel like I think it's fair to say I'd had the highlight moment of that event and been a wild card, beaten Jack Robbo, I'd beaten 1 and 2 in the world. Like, I was on my way. It felt like, you know, like I felt like that was the big heat that I had to win to go all the way, the one against Robbo. And then, you know, no disrespect to Kyo, but I just felt like that was it was mine for the taking because, you know, I mean, just the scores that he had.
I remember it, mate. And the other thing you had was just this groundswell of support coming in from all over the world. Like, people wanted to see it.
Yeah.
So that was impossible to ignore, even sitting in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Like, you were feeling the energy. Like, I remember Smithy and I were talking about it. We were posting just endless shots of your run through that event, and people were just, the DM was just blowing up. The Swellians were fucking going ballistic, mate. Everyone was like, it's Hoggy's going to do it. So that's in you. And especially when you get a good start, you're like, I'm going to do this for the team. I'm going to do it for everyone else. And as you know, man, it's like sometimes just the tiniest little increments, they just throw you, like those tiny little thoughts, invasive, as positive or negative as they may be, they still create like a tiny little millisecond of sort of, I don't know, can put you off timing or doubt or whatever, and the anxiety starts to creep in, and all of a sudden you're desperate for something rather than sitting with it.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Wow, mate. Yeah. And then what about the final with was it CJ or Damien back in? Was that 2005?
Yeah, that was 2004. My first ever CT final with CJ. Yeah, that haunts me too because I didn't get to surf it. CJ was
first wave. You just rip your shoulder out of the socket.
Yeah, here's CJ and me. He was gnarly. CJ's kind of like a modern day Medina now. We'd never give up the inside. You know what I mean? And I went way the hell up and got this one deep. It wasn't the biggest Tahiti ever, but it was on the first ledge, and it was a bit windy and chandelier in the arvo, and I'd driven through a few sections, and I'd come out with heaps of speed and just cartwheeled and dislocated my shoulder first wave. And it was like one of those 2 or a 10 kind of scenario, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And didn't get to surf the rest of it. I just thought, get the shoulder back in, I'll get back out there. I had Kyborg on the back of the ski and water safety trying to give me the green whistle and trying to get me back out there, but it just seized and locked, and I couldn't get back out there. So,
could you get it back in?
No, we had to go into the shore, and then it still wouldn't go into there. Then I had to get a boat round because the ambulance couldn't come over the river. So I was still out, dislocated, had to get back on a boat and go around to over the other side of the river, and the ambulance picked me up from over there, and I went up to Taravao and got morphine, and they put it in when I couldn't feel what was going on. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that sucked. It was just like, I ended up with 2 second places on the world tour, and I feel like that again was an opportunity like it was mine. You know, I'd already beaten Andy in the quarters. I'd beaten his brother Damo in the semis. Now I had CJ, you know, and
and he just free surfed his way to a trophy on that occasion. But mate, acceptance.
Yeah,
acceptance is key.
Yeah, that was it.
You can't be a high level athlete, and even when like the lessons that you're meant to learn and take away from those scenarios probably aren't obvious in the moment. Like that just feels like a dead set rip off. Like the universe is just kicking you in the nuts. But like once the morphine goes away and you're sort of sitting with it, how long did it take you to sort of come to terms with that one, or is it still just grinding your gears a bit?
It still does, but I still extract so many positives out of it. Like I got to the final, and you know, that set me on a path as well. Like I hadn't really had like Mick Fanning's story of like when he ripped his hamstring off his
Right.
bone, for me, I had a couple months off. I had to miss Fiji,
Mm.
which I thought, after making the final Tahiti, I'm good chance of Tahiti. So that really hurt. I
Yep.
dug in for 6 to 8 weeks. I had put in a huge effort. Like, it was the first bit of like really applying myself to my training and my health and really dedicated to get my shoulder right for J-Bay. I come back to J-Bay and I ended up making the final game with AI. So I had back-to-back finals with Fiji missing in the middle. So it gave me, that was a real gift. I don't, maybe I wouldn't have made the final if I had just, streamed through there and also like, the following year when it came to Tahiti again, I'd made the tour for the next year, knowing I dislocated my shoulder in the final there the year before. It was a lot mentally to get back in the ring and to surf those waves again and how was I going to go, knowing, how much it hurt and what that did. And I got all the way to the semis, I got third. So I even think about that sometimes in my life now with the adversity and my grit, my resilience. That's all built upon experience. It hasn't just happened. So that I still reflect on and remind myself, fuck, you did that.
Mate, there's a
You know what I
famous
mean?
saying, dude, you can't grow from a place of comfort. It's impossible. You can only really challenge yourself to gain greater knowledge, to gain experience that's worthwhile and worth something.
That's it.
If you can sit with the discomfort, sit with the pain, understand what it's going to take to not have that, or it's not so much avoid it, but it's just deal with it. Deal with it in a healthy way that provides pathways for you to be the better version of you next time around.
Well, yeah, that was
Pretty
it.
incredible, man.
That was it for me because I could have
Yeah.
sat there and gone, fuck, poor me, whatever. But it like got me motivated to train my ass. I was watching Fiji go down when I had my arm in a sling after surgery. It was just like killing me.
sure.
Damo Hopgood won that event as well. So knowing that I beat him in the semis in Tahiti, I was like, fuck, that should have been me. But it propelled me and made me so hungry to get back there that by the time I put the rashi on come Africa time, I was like, get the fuck out of my way, I'm back. And that's what happened, So it was
Epic.
like a blessing in disguise, sort of.
That's
Some
so
ways,
cool,
yeah.
mate. I love that. A heat in your career, Hog, where you just felt like you couldn't lose. Like you were just on magic boards, magic surf, just fucking up against someone who you just looked at and just went, you're nothing. You just roadkill right now.
I think it'd have to be when I came back to the tour, J-Bay, 2012. It was a 6-star prime WQS.
Yeah.
I'd just come off the back of rehab. I was like about a month out of rehab. I'd done Bolito and got a 9th. And then because I got, in the top, I got top 10 there, like 9th, I got an invite down to J-Bay. And it was a heat with, I remember Zeke Lau was in it. I'm not sure who else was in it, but Zeke Lau at the time was just coming on that hard. He was just like new Hawaiian, like Sonny Garcia, powerhouse from Hawaii, like blowing minds, like that same frame, same intent, no give a fuck attitude. And he's surfing like between barrels and the power. Like he was putting that onto the J-Bay wave and he'd come through a few heats. So I was watching him too. And like, then we matched up together and there was 2 other guys in the heat, but my apologies, I don't remember. Anyway, so I was fired up to surf with Zeke and, I just freaking lit up this backside one and I ended up getting a 10. Did like full variety. Like I come off the bottom late and kind of snapped under and did like the ock freaking where the wave comes over you and came back out and was just seamless from rail to rail and each turn got more dramatic and, just finished down the end of the bricks and the big claim was just like for people that didn't really know like just what it took to get to that point. Like I've just had 9 months in rehab. Story for another time, but just to even be back there was just massive, and then so I paddle back out. I'm just feeling invincible, like gnarly, and there's still time left in the heat, and I take off on another wave, and it's hollower, and I get barreled and do a bunch of other turns too, and come out the doggy door of a barrel, down the end bit. I got a 9.27, so I ended up having 19.27.
Yeah.
And that year I won the Nixon Highest Heat Award. It was like, you got this gnarly Nixon watch, all the diamonds around the highest heat of the contest.
Yeah.
Because D'Souza won the whole event and he was blowing mines too, but no one eclipsed that the 10 and the 9. So I just felt like that heat, I was just untouchable and he's so in sync with the wave and what I brought to each ride and each maneuver. And I was like borderline angry, but just a celebration of everything that got me to there. And it just all clicked and it was like no one else was there. It wasn't an event. It was me and J-Bay back from rehab, like let me at it and just all came together. And Yeah, that was
Mate, I can imagine you coming out that little doggy door through what's it called, supers or races, or just on the inside there, and just fucking all 80 little hoggy tits just leaking fucking colostrum, and you're just going squirt, squirt, squirt. You're just flexing out of your mind. But how often do you reckon, man, in your career, and I'd love to just get your take on this, how often do you reckon you hit that kind of flow state in a heat? Like, honestly, if you think back about your whole career, is it like 0.01% or something?
It's on one hand, I think, of that level of like where it just gnarly all comes together. Like you have heats where you're like, well, I've got the magnet on, the waves come your way, or things go right, but probably on one hand, you know, man, of all those times maybe. So whatever that is, 0.00 something.
Wow, mate. Yeah, fuck, that's good shit.
That was really special.
Yeah, that is. Mate, any heats you had that you just kind of couldn't believe, like they were just weird or wacky, or you just had someone blowing up the Lux, or like, you know, where you're looking around and going, what's going on here? Because, you know, surfing has got these radical one-off instances. Fanning's final with Julian at J-Bay, probably the greatest example ever. Like, you know, a shark attack mid fucking heat. But any in your career where, like, you know, like I think back to Johnny Shamuka, R.I.P. Fucking love you,
Shmoo.
But you know, he's surfing a heat in France, surfed into a log, busted his leg. Richie Collins, buckling his fucking back on a floater at Bells, and then the whole heat goes flat.
Sonny or Shmoo won that one? Who went to the hospital? Richie did,
Richie
right?
Collins went to hospital, and he ended up winning Bells in the back of the Ambo because
right.
the surf went flat. Potts was in the final. Nothing goes on. So have you got kind of one of those yarns where you're just like going, I can't believe what just happened?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably not as interesting as that, but this was probably the wackiest thing that ever happened to me. I'm in Hawaii, it's the end of the year, and Relive on, and so it's like, you know, sometimes Relive, if it's not real west, the swell doesn't get in there. And so Randy Rerick, whoever the contest director is at the time, there's no waves at the normal Ahukai Beach, not Ali'i Beach Park there at the normal event site. So there's talk of going out to Avalanche. They're running heats over at Avalanche, which is the left peak out, you know, out to sea, out the big channel.
Rip bowl. It just breaks in the middle of nowhere.
It's normally like a bit of a indicator for, you know, where you see the channel marker go up and then the sets come into Avalanche, and then you know there's going to be a set at the normal comp site. So anyway, I'm in the Haleiwa, the freaking Triple Crown. I'm in Hawaii, feeling awesome, and our heat's on over at Avalanche, and when you're at the beach part looking out, it looks like they're all in the same spot, and there's these lefts coming. It just looks all pretty easy, and I'll be honest, like I'd probably surfed out there maybe once or twice before with Poncho when it was big and doing its thing.
Yeah. Lowy loved the Avalanche.
Yeah, Lowy loved Avalanche.
He loved it.
Yeah, keg. So anyway, I'm out there just we just threw a spanner in the works because no one was prepared for that. And so anyway, I feel like, I'm going over there. I'll still get through the heat, whatever, confident. Guess what happened? I fucking do not catch a wave.
No.
Half an hour heat, I didn't catch a wave.
Just lost.
No, I went out there, I just missed waves. Waves went here, peaks went there, come under me, went there. Half an hour heat, I guess, it would have been. I didn't catch a wave. Zero.
No.
Fucking zero. I didn't even get to my head, didn't even get to my feet.
You're not the only person who's ever had a duck egg.
But like
After
in
a heat,
Hawaii, Haleiwa, I was just like, I had to paddle back into the beach with zero. And like, this is not like a grime at my first year on tour. Like, I was in the thick of it. Like, it was like, it was all happening.
Yeah.
And I just remember, like, my dad ringing up. 'Cause you used to have to ring up I didn't have mobiles and that then. I rang up and Dad was just like blowing up. He just couldn't work out because the footage wasn't, you know,
because when you look at that over, it just looks like a perfect little rip
it was
bowl
just like,
breaking in. Yeah. Mad.
It was just heavy. Like, the wackiest thing ever to come in and just get duck egg zeros, like, not even get to your feet that was wild.
There you
that
go,
never
Groms.
happened again.
You can have like more 10s in your career than Mick Fanning and still come in with a 0 on your score.
Zero. that was wacky.
That is an epic yarn, mate. Let's talk about this is one specific to you actually. The heat that's meant the most to you since falling off the CT. Like, we spoke about Tahiti, so we can put that to one side. But I've seen you surf some really special heats, mostly in the ABB, you know, like when you're surfing for the team, surfing for something that means so much to you. I think that you're you find another gear when it's not just about you, when you're surfing for something, you know, your hometown or whatever? Have you got a heat that sort of springs to mind where you just went, and maybe it is just a heat for you as well, but yeah, I'd love to get your take on that.
Yeah. Well, as you know, like I love surfing narrowbeam, and there's definitely some massive highlights there when you're surfing for your club. But I'm gonna have to go back to Tahiti. Like I have to. I think you know, my heat with Jack Robbo, just the way it played out, and he had me in such a corner, comboed with 7 or 8 minutes to go. I think, you know, I haven't got back on the tour, and you know, see how many things had to fall into place for me to get a wild card that year without an own sponsoring it and people pulling out of the event. Like I needed 3 people to pull out to even get a start. Yeah, John Medina, and I forget who the third person was, but they all pulled out. Yeah, I remember calling you and texting you saying I'm in the Contest, and I was freaking the Tiger doing push-ups in the freaking airport lounge.
Yeah, and the ramp up began. It was just all. It
was gnarly.
Yeah.
So look, I think, you know, given that was only 2 years ago and wildcards are really hard to come by. Again, I feel like I cut my time short on the tour, like premature, just through my choices. And so to get back, you know, I'm in the final in CJ 2024. So it's 20 years, basically 20 years later, 18, 19 years later. So what that meant for me to be in the lineup with, you know, the world number 1, world number 2, you know, for me, the guy out there was Jack Robbo to beat. I got Slater out there against Conor O'Leary, and then me and Jack Robbo to be back in that moment. And then Jack Robbo had done what AI did to me back in the early days of my career. I went to paddle for a wave because I felt like I was in the right spot. And last minute, he swung around the back and took off deeper and knifed in behind me, fully snaked me. It was like gnarliest move ever. I was like, just didn't expect it. He got that over me at the very start, like just such a gnarly competitor. So that fired me up then too, to kind of like got me pretty angry and just like, okay, if I'm going to beat this guy, I'm going to need to be on the better waves and bigger waves. And I let a few waves go, and he kept bettering his scores, and he was manufacturing, like, because he's on his backside, he could do stuff that I couldn't on my forehand, because he could come up high and do that. He and Kelly can go up high and almost go around the foam ball. And
that's why they call him the Vortex Shaman, mate. He can glitch cone, he can fucking get high, he can come from deep, he can accelerate and come to a dead standstill on the tail end of barrels where most people are getting spewed out, and he can get another few fractions of a second, get that more dramatic exit. Yeah, he's an absolute master. But I love that little insight that you gave us there, that he brought fire. Like that's a fire versus fire matchup, you know, like for him to sort of pull a move on you that you would fucking probably love to do to people is just so sick.
It was like, just in that moment, I was just like, fuck, I've been hogged. Like, that was just, that was so heavy. It was like the young bull. Like, I wanted to show him, he was going to show me, and he just fucking did a number on me. I was just like,
deep respect, bro.
Yeah, 100% for Robbo, deep respect. And then I had Kelly over here going, you gave him too much room, Hog. And I'm like, fuck. Just all in that moment, you know what I mean? You know, Kelly talks to you in the heats and stuff. He just says that to me, and I'm like, fuck, just like, how does this already happened? You know, like, anyway, so yeah, like Robbo being able to manage that time in the barrel and the speed in the barrel, I think he does it probably better than anybody, and managing to stay deep. So I was looking at waves kind of going, that might be a 7 for me, not 8-5. Yeah. Had another one go, 9. So my head is fucking exploding in a roundabout way. I'm just going, fuck. And I get down to like 8 minutes to go there's a 40-minute heat, you get 20 minutes priority and 20 minutes without, right? So fast forward, there's 8 minutes to go. But I was using my tools as well. Like, you know, we're talking about heats and strategy in the battle. Like, I was trying to stay calm. I was just using my tools. Like, what I'd do is I'd get off my board and I'd look down at the coral and just get me really present. Like, I was always jumping off my board and just connecting with the ocean and that lineup and the coral, after like giving thanks and going, I ask nothing more of you, and just, you know, ask that you accept me here on this reef, and like everyone that's gone before me, and just getting like connecting with the place. I just kept handing it over and just getting a connection to the reef, and it got me present. I've had so many moments that are like over my career, it's been so giving of me that it was like, I'm not asking anything more. I just really grateful to be here and coming from that space rather than like, fuck, I need this and stressing. And it brought me back.
Major change from your days on tour, right?
Yeah, massive. And I'd use that tool throughout the event, and, you know, get a little bit wiser, and, you know, as years go on. So, you know, see Kelly splash the water and different tools that you need in the moment, because I'm always running hot. So I need something that's going to anchor me and bring me back. So I'm jumping off my board and stuff and doing all that, and I just knew that, like, knowing from the experience of all the battles out there, you can be 3 minutes to go, and Chopu is one of the spots where you can still get, unless you're comboed for a 20, you can still win heats. I've seen multiple guys do it, and it's happened to me. I've done it to guys as well. So with the paddle out being so short, so I never gave up. I just believed and just drew within my strength and what I'd done before the previous experience that it was still possible somewhere. Some glimmer, I just still believed it was possible. Anyways, big south one comes and I can see it up the top part of the reef. So I hunt up there. I've got priority. Robbo follows me. Other guys stay where you're meant to stay, like the normal law of averages where you can get most of the excellent scores, and that's the main part of the reef, you know. So I'm hunting up because I knew it was a big south one. Robbo chases me up, and, like, if I don't go, he's going to go. And given the time restraints, I was comboed. It gave me, again, like, the will and just the determination just to give it everything that I got. And gnarliest, because it was so much shallower up there, the wave, when I got to the bottom, was full gnarly air drop. It was just one of those moments where it was just like, my rail either catches engage or I go over and I get absolutely obliterated. And it's so shallow up that part of the reef. Like, it's only about 2 foot deep.
Yeah.
So you got an 8 foot wave coming down, like rifling too. And the sound, because it comes from right at the top, it's folding. The lip's that thick and it's just going square, just come rifling down
like
the reef.
Cracking lightning thunder, like that real crispy, thick, heavy sound in the reef.
Because it rifles down from the top too, so I can see it coming down, and you just getting the edge of it up there, because the normal spot you take off there and it comes at you more, but this one's rolling down like fucking freight train down the reef. And I airdrop, and the thing I catch, and just by pure braille, I can't see nothing. The thing spits like a fire hydrant that hard that I can't see anything, and I'm just going along, and it's like in slow motion, and I'm just like, nothing's clipped in yet, nothing's clipped in. I'm just still going, and it's just still smooth sailing, and I freaking go right through this barrel and just come out. There's so much spit and spray in my eyes. I realise I'm out of the barrel, and I just fly into the channel, and I just, like, I didn't want to claim my waves. It was a real thing for me to not get to till the end. I wanted to contain the froth. So I've got the arms down, I'm fucking all staunch and just like, that was the best I could do. Don't put them up, but just go, so hard to not go, because I knew it was a nuts wave, and spear off into the channel. I remember just locking eyes with Owen Wright and Jason Patrell from Team Australia. I was just like, fuck, yeah, now it's on, and they call out my score 9.73. Like, some judges called it a 10. I was like, fuck, I'm back in it. It's like 5 minutes to go now. And Robbo is trying to better his 8.5. And he made one mistake, and he went this wave, and he only gets a 7.5 or something, so he doesn't better his score. And normal Robbo fashion, he'd get off early, or he's so smart, but he stayed in the barrel and tried to do his thing. Amazing. And I made that call, didn't better his 8.5, so then I get out the back before him. Now I've got probably there's 3 minutes to go. And one comes, and it's just like, it's one of those ones. It's not too gnarly. It's not small. It's not up the reef. It's right where it should be. There's enough meat on the bone. Relatively easy. Not too psycho. For what I'd just done, it was a walk in the park. It was just, here it is. And I went got like an 8.5. I needed a 7.77. And, I ended up beating him. And so that for me was it's just a massive moment.
Give us you said just before you locked eyes with Owen and Patchell.
Yeah.
Like, when you come out of that next one, they read out the score. Like, surely someone's in your field of view, or or is it just pure adrenaline at that stage?
Oh, I was just kicking and scratching back out into the lineup that gnarly. It was like a freaking it was just. There was so many people in the channel screaming, like, just the fans of surfing. Just that's what we were. The Slater was in the water. Robbo was doing his thing. Like, Robbo had a 9 and an 8 himself. Like, it was a nuts heat, and I got so much respect for Robbo. Like, what he did at the start and how he surfs out there, and he was the guy to beat. So that for me was kind of like falling off the tour. That was like,
mad.
That was sick.
Mad. Jeez, that's a good yarn. That is so good. And Robbo, like to have it against the guy who has been the benchmark in waves of truth
clearly
for so long now. Like, there's him, there's probably Medina and John as the absolute leaders of high performance, next level, evolution in that sort of surf. Like, they're bringing something new, and to just bring the heat, bring the fire against a firebrand is just
it was
that's one of the all time battles, mate. I fucking love that story. Cheers, Hog.
He won the year after too, so like I feel like if I didn't stop him there, he probably would have won. Like he's that good out there.
That's it, man.
He's a
Hey,
wizard.
before we get to the last one, Hoggy, who was your kryptonite, mate? Who did you just? Because I love asking this question because it's often someone no one predicts. Like I think the other day I was talking to Machado, who's like, "Yeah, Victor Ribas, man, he just fucking
Vicky
flogged me. I just couldn't get over the top of the guy."
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you like paddle out? Like, there's the obvious names who just have your number, the Kellys, the Andys, all that sort of crew, but. Is it one of those guys, or did you have someone who just brought out your best? Like, I can imagine you and Parko, for example, having great heats because you were great mates.
Yeah.
Really different styles, really different kind of demeanours in heats.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, who sort of springs to mind when I go, who was your great rival over the course of your career?
I reckon probably the Hopgood brothers. Yeah, I mean, I didn't actually. This is a miracle. I didn't actually have many heats with MF.
Yeah,
I had heats with Parko for sure, like Mundaka and J-Bay. Like we had amazing heats, but I think the two twins, it was almost like double of them because there was two of them.
well, it is like that.
You know what I
It's
mean?
exactly
Well,
like
it is.
that, bro.
And they were so nice. We were kind of like this cut from the same cloth kind of thing, you know, and the waves of consequence, and then even their backside. So I had that many battles with them, and they matched me for the fire too.
Yeah,
You know, where Parko was different. He's a forehand, like gnarly style natural footer.
yeah.
Sort of almost in another realm. Whereas me and like CJ and Damo was so like, yeah, we had a lot of similarities.
There is, man.
You know what I'm saying?
Fucking tube pigs for a start, all three of you. Grab rail cutties, just fucking absolute beasts at those turns.
Yeah.
And just the fire, like the one thing, you know, we don't talk about Damo and CJ enough, like for what their contribution is for the way that they surf. Fuck, we'll get them on this show for sure because that would be a riot to hear from.
So nice.
CJ especially has so many little old
yeah.
war stories and battles locked away.
So animated too, imagine.
Big time. But mate, yeah, I can see why.
Yeah.
Why, like, it's like when you've got two dogs, the same breed, the same size. French bulldogs come to mind with you guys. And you get them in the space and they just are literally almost choking themselves to death trying to fight the other one. It's like that.
Yeah, it's so hectic. Like, starting Reunion Island to like Margaret's to freaking Fiji, Tahiti, freaking Bells, J-Bay.
Yeah.
Battle upon battle.
Epic.
You know, and like, we get one on that side of the draw.
It's like you get one, and then the next one's in your next heat.
Yeah, exactly. There's
you,
two,
bro.
and then they'd have each other's backs. You're like, just fuck off. So go away. Too gnarly. Because they were like,
it.
I reckon those two were like, they were gnarly, but also brought out the best, obviously.
For sure.
But I had a heat. I don't know if it's a separate question, but when I come to blows with, is that another question coming up or?
Oh, angriest heat for sure. Yeah.
Angriest heat.
Give us your heat where you were just fuming.
Yeah, well, that's what sparked me up there thinking of Damo because we were at freaking. I love Damo. Like, this is the best.
Yeah.
We were out at main break at Margaret's, and freaking he's that feisty. Like, would never back down, nor would I. And so that was back then where you still get scores on the left, right? So whatever swell direction it was, I don't know. There's lefts and rights. So I'm wanting to go left. Damien wants to go right. And we freaking both don't give in. We're both clearly the two best surfers in the heat. The other two guys were like, whatever, we're going to get first and second. That's the way I saw it playing out anyway. And the first 5 minutes of the heat, we freaking, I'm trying to backdoor the left and he's thinking that it's a right and we freaking cross over, we get double interference and we're just like snapping at each other out the back and blowing off and freaking, I forget exactly what we said to each other, but wasn't it was in the heat of the moment.
Yeah.
But we wanted to come to blows after that. It was just it was just the pure fire and the passion. We both wanted it, you know, but it kind of was to our detriment. Sometimes it tips over, you know. I think I did some of my best surfing when I got that angry. Like fine line of like, you know, not tipped over to like dysfunction, but it meant enough that there's a level of anger in there, want and desire that is optimum for me to perform at. Yeah. And a lot of times that was with Damo and CJ because they got angry too. Like you see it in their face and their emotions, and I really relate to that. Yeah, and I love it. I think there should be more of it today.
It's funny though, mate, because you know you were saying before that that energy, that surfing with anger, it's got a time limit on it, and it can really exhaust you. And I think that's what happened with Andy really in that year where Kelly claws him back. It's almost like Kelly was just sitting there going, okay, if I can't beat you on pure aggression, I'll just bide my time and beat you in the long game. And, you know, the heats that you surf that mean so much to you now, are these heats where you're appreciating the moment, being grateful for having that experience. You know, I think it's it's just got a longer life to it in some ways, mate, because you just burn hard when you use an angler.
Yeah.
Jeez, the adrenaline gets into you and it's mad. Great yarn. Hog, before you go, best heat you ever saw, mate. Best heat you have ever seen. You're still surfing heats now. It's been a long life of competitive ups and downs, but I'd say now you're in a place where you just experience so much joy when you pull on the Rashi. So what's the heat that sort of sticks out to you as one where you went, wow, that's as good as it gets?
Oh, and there's so many, you know, especially when you talk about any era, any time, you know, watching it, it's a really tough question. I could probably pick 5, but the one that really resonates with me in my heart was there in the moment watching it live was MF winning bells as a wild card.
Fanning.
Yeah.
2001.
2001. Or maybe 2000.
2000.
2000.
Was it?
I think it was 2000.
Wow, yeah, right.
I was on the 2001. It might have been 2000. I'm not too sure. Parko had already run J-Bay, but I wasn't there because it was a Billabong event. I'd watch it, you know, on the webcast or the internet, whatever it was at that time. And the way Parko surfed and, you know, he beat everybody there. But to be down at Bells with Mick there, seeing his run through.
And you've been going to Bells since you were first put a rip curl sticker on your board. It's part
Exactly.
it's part of the whole fucking pathway of being a young surfer in Australia is you just wind up watching Bells from a young age.
Again, it's like you go down there every Easter, rite of passage. Like I got sponsored by Rip Curl at 13, so I went down there every year and for all the junior stuff and all the promotional stuff. So we're going to Bells every year, multiple times a year, and for every Rip Curl Pro, family would come down. Me and Parko's families would rent houses, and it was like rite of passage to go down to Bells every Easter. And so to be down there for MF that year and see it play out for him, like the way he surfed through that whole event, and he just blew everyone's mind, like my mind sitting up in the stands watching it all happen, like against Wilsey as well. Like Wilsey was so much rail, so much precision and power and so low and just like so hard to beat. Like when they matched up in the final, it was just the most insane Sunday afternoon Bells, like just funnest Bells.
Yeah.
And White Lightning just had a bit more flair and just put it all together. And I think just watching that go down live was, it was insanely mind-blowing and set us up for what could be possible as well. It
set up your generation, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really did.
Yeah.
That Parko's win just came out of absolutely nowhere, but by the time Mick wins, that year, that run he went on that year is one of the craziest things you'll ever see. I think he won 21 grand at the Conacher All-Stars, the skins at Sand and Point. He won Surfest.
He won Margaret's too.
He won Margaret's and then he won Bells. So it was just...
Sid won everything that year. It was crazy because I qualified in 2000 and then he didn't get there. And there was like a moment in Sunset that he didn't get there. And fuck, I think the saying's like, don't poke the bear or don't give him coffee or something because whatever, you know, the White Lightning just turned up that next year and just blew everyone's mind. Just goes, okay, now I'm here. Won the Q, won everything. So, that Rip Curl Pro, like, up there in the stands with my family, just was back in the days where the Jim Beans were flowing in the stand and there was like, Tool and Henry Rollins were playing at Offshore Festival. Like, it was pure, the days, where it was hardcore and media night. Peak.
GFC.
Yeah.
Excessive pro surfing about to go to another planet and one of the Groms just getting it done.
I had the Oakleys on with the flames. On the side, they shot at me with the silver Oakleys with the flames and up there cheering. We had like a little skivvy, like we get the Rip Curl gear. So it was just that time, that generation.
Yeah, mate.
We'll cherish
Magic
it forever.
Era, for sure. Magic
MF
Hog.
just led the way.
Mate, it's been a pleasure. Absolutely loved walking through your career with you, bro. I'm sure there's plenty more heats to come, Hog. Thanks for joining us, brother.
Stoked, mate.
Yeah.